Vintage Eternal Weekend is just about 4 weeks away, and well, I need to figure out what we're playing. So that's what we're doing today. We're playing Beseech the Mirror combo in Vintage. Will this be the deck? Let's find out. This will be the deck list that we're playing today. I'm going to discuss it in a moment, but if you're interested, I recorded this deck about a month and a half to 2 months ago. You can find that video on the card above. I normally don't upload vintage content, but that video did so well, I thought maybe today I would upload some of my testing for Eternal Weekend. In fact, the video did so well, it got 7,000 views. The most views any vintage video has gotten on this channel. So thank you to everyone that's watched it, and well, everyone that's going to go watch it. So let's talk about today's deck list and how it differs from the one that we played previously. So one of the biggest upgrades that people who are not me figured out is that Dress Down is a perfect card for this deck. So why is this card so good? Well, one, it's an enchantment, and if you know what Beseech the Mirror does, you can bargain artifacts, enchantments, or tokens. So you can sacrifice Dress Down to Beseech the Mirror, which is pretty cool. It's also just very good against one of the best decks in the format, Mono White Initiative. You're able to shut off Archon of Emerias and everything else, all with one card. And that's just pretty helpful. So you have a card that you can bargain away. It's good against one of the best decks in the format. It also kills Construct tokens. So it's good in the Mirror matches and most of the Fair Blue matches. It also shuts off Collector, oof, which we're interested in. So where is it bad? There's not really a matchup that it's just terrible. It's kind of applicable everywhere, mostly because it pitches to Force of Will, which is just so good. At the bare minimum, it's a blue card that exiles. Most of you know how Force of Will works, all that good stuff. But in this particular deck, we were extremely low on blue cards, which is part of the reason we're running Lurrus Revealed. You can cast it off of things like Mana Vault, which, not bad. We also have a Manifold Key to untap our Time Vault, but it also untaps Mana Vault or Soul Ring or Mana Crypt to make mana to hardcast the Lurrus Reveal. I did that in the previous video, and I was just really impressed by that interaction. Why I mentioned. So that's really the big thing. And in fact, the blue count's high enough now where you're able to play Force of Negation in the sideboard instead of something like Mindbreak Trap. I hated Mindbreak Trap and did not want to play it again. So today we're playing Force of Negation now that the blue count is just a little bit higher. And I have one more theme for you. I know that this deck tech is going a little bit long already, but I was talking to Vintage Mastermind, the Power 9, about this deck because the Power 9 has also been working on this type, and they convinced me to play Dismember over Fatal Push because it's so good against the initiative deck. The only downside is that it's slightly worse against the... So that's good. But they also told me not to cut Time Vault. I was ready to cut Time Vault. And that last league, we got bullied by blue decks a lot. And I felt like we were a little skimpy on our interaction suite, so I wanted to cut Time Vault. I was going to cut the Time Vault and the key for the 4th Flusterstorm in the main deck, and then a 3rd copy of Dress Down, because then my blue count would be truly high enough to support Force of Negation in the sideboard, and maybe even a 3rd. So that was something that I was considering. However, the Power 9 said that I was being a little bit silly and I should at least play one more league with Time Vault. That's what we're doing today, and I'm going to keep a close eye on Time Vault and see, was I being ridiculous or do we actually not need it? Because when we look at our deck, Time Vault's like plan C or D. We just don't really need this card in our Beseech for Yawgmoth's Will deck, or Necropotence, or Tinker for Bolas's Citadel, or just get Tendrils of Agony, or Urza Saga tokens. Like, do we really need these cards that are kind of terrible on their own? Okay, I've been ranting and rambling long enough. I'm ready to play some Match of the Gathering. I'm sure that's what you clicked to watch as well. So let's head on into match number 1, and I'll see you there. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. You can also show your support by becoming a member of this channel. You get sweet perks such as badges, emotes, early access to videos, exclusive members-only content, and access to our members Discord section. As you increase the tiers, there are other rewards such as shop discounts, sideboard guides, and even free donation decks. Click the join button down below to find out more. We also have other ways you can support us, like theepicstorm.com/shop or submitting a donation deck via theepicstorm.com/donation decks. That's enough for now. Let's play some Magic. Welcome to the first match. We're on the draw and we've opened up a hand that plays Tinker on turn 2 with Force of Will backup. I'm not going to send that back, so let's see what our opponent Ancient Tomb, Grim Monolith. That's fine. They're passing. If I had to guess, this is likely the what is it? Jewel shops. Not for certain, but that is my hunch. So you might be asking why I didn't play Urza Saga on the first turn and start, chaptering up. Well, as I mentioned, we have Vampire Tutor, and Vampire Tutor gets Mana Crypt, which enables turn 2 Tinker. So that is what I am thinking about at the moment. Picking up Urza Saga is not on my radar. That's not really what we want to do. I want to cast Tinker. One has 3 cards left in their hand. Could be a good window for them to attempt a paradoxical outcome. This is going to resolve. We'll get Mana Crypt. You go to 8. Looks like they're passing. And here comes the paradoxical outcome. I will cast Force of Will, exiling the Lurrus Reveal. They're going to force back, exiling Phyrexian. So they're going to draw 3 cards here. So I hope those 3 cards can stop a Tinker for you. So if I got on Black Lotus, we could not have tinkered. Mana Crypt is actually better than Black Lotus. Even though Black Lotus could have cast Yawgmoth's Will, our graveyard wasn't stocked enough. Alright, Bloss's Citadel, let's go. Lotus Petal, Firmus 6. There's a Time Vault. Lurrus Revealed, I love that. So we're going to hold priority on this one. Go to 10 life, we'll draw 3. There's a Black Lotus. Big fan of that card. Okay. Playing a couple Moxen. We still have a land drop as well. There's our land. Okay. So we can now make some black mana. We'll float a green. And then we'll cast Beseech the Mirror using that green mana, sacrificing our Mox Emerald. Sweet. Take that, Jewel Shops. Alright, so let's make our deck small enough so we can actually see what... I don't like pile view, so if you're someone that prefers it, thanks for watching the channel, but this is what I'm going to do. I don't think Dress Down is actually good in this. And I feel really silly saying that after the deck tech, but this is one of the few matchups that it's not good. I mean, it is a blue card, but I just don't think we want it. So Dress Down is going to go out. We're at 61 cards right now. We need to find at least one more cut. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be my good friend, the Mana Vault. I don't really see another card that I want to take out. Some lists don't even play Mana Vault. That could be a slot that you could experiment with, but I like it for having acceleration into Beseech the Mirror or Tinker or whatever. And it's interesting. I think I'm going to keep it, but I'm not thrilled. Mishra's Workshop. Grim Monolith. The One Ring! Supposed to allow this to resolve. They have 4 cards. So they'll draw 1 card immediately. Next turn they draw 2. At that point it's like forcing Ancestral Recall. And I don't have a turn 1 win. So I'm going to attempt to counterspell. Alright, they have 4 cards in there. Beseech the Mirror. Play a Mana Crypt. Manifold Key. Untap the Mana Crypt. Play our top. Spin the top. None of these cards are what we want here. So I think that means that I'm going to play Urza Saga. And we'll send the turn to the... It's worth noting I could use Key alongside top to draw some extra cards to get through. My list is playing 1 additional fetch land. If you look at a lot of Beseech the Mirror lists right now, they're on 2 fetches. And I'm playing 3. So I cut the 1 of Watery Grave that a lot of lists play, and I'm just opting to ignore that. We're going to just allow the needle to resolve. I could try to spin top and draw a card, but like we have to go through it anyway. So let's just see what they needle, and then they chose the top. They have their own saga. It looks like their draw was really banking on that 1 ring to resolve. We win the flip. Our saga goes to 2, so we can start making constructs. And let's pass the turn. I don't know if I'm drawing the Lotus Petal or the Mox Jet on our... Just something to think about here. And they have Ancient Tomb, so they can make their own construct. On their end step, let's untap the... That way we have 1 extra mana. And then we'll create a construct. This way, like, it might not say anything to our opponent, but they might think that I have a card that costs 2. Instead of knowing that I don't. So we have a 4/4 construct. Mana Crypt happens. Tails never fails. Boom. 2 wins in a row. So we're going to draw what I'm guessing is probably the Jet, even though I wish I had Lotus Petal in this spot when I have. And we will create another construct. They're going to make their construct. Okay. So none of these cards actually help me. So I think that maybe I'm supposed to get Black Lotus so I can hard cast for. Well, I could also get Sapphire. Maybe Sapphire's the pick. And then we'll play Mox Jet. I could also make my construct unblockable. So they would take. That's not even lethal next turn. So let's just swing in for 7. Alright, they're now at 11 life. Urza's Saga goes to the 3rd chapter. And this is now a pivotal point of the game because our opponent, for the first time, is going to have access to blue mana. They can go get Black Lotus. And with that Black Lotus, might be looking kind of... Ooh, they think that this game is about constructs. That is good when we are ahead. Our opponent has picked up their own copy of Manifold Key. It's interesting. And then they untap the Grim Monolith. Okay. 4 mana, 7 mana. Coveted Jewel. I'm guessing this is one that I don't want to. And I can make my creature unblockable, so they have to have Force of Will here, or else they're dead. Hard cast Force. Boom, who needs extra blue cards? Alright, Mana Crypt. Ah, we lost one. Because I didn't say Tails Never Fail. Play Saga. And then we will... Our creature can't be blocked this turn. We're at 7. That is the ball game. And we are 1-0 in this vintage league. Love to see it. See you in round number 2. Moxfield.com is the easiest way to build a Magic deck online. They support over 30 formats, including Legacy and many other Eternal formats. There are so many options to view decks the way that you want, from text view to individual cards, mana value, and even card price. There's also light mode and dark mode. My personal favorite feature is card tags. This way you can sort cards by function. Moxfield supports collection tracking, Scryfall search, decklist feedback, and so much more. Follow me on Moxfield.com so you can stay updated on all of my decks. Time for match number 2. We've won the die roll. We're on the play. I have no clue what our opponent's. This seems fine enough. We have turn 1 Saga and a hard cast 4. Yawgmoth's Will could become relevant later. Soul Ring. What about a Black Lotus? Storm is 2. Mox Pearl. And we'll play Mox Sapphire. Pass the turn. I think with a hand like this, we're kind of hoping our opponent's on Shops. But if they're on a blue deck, we've kind of ran out of gas pretty quick. Mox Sapphire. Mox Emerald. Their own copy of Urza's Saga. Okay, we got to untap. I like that. Hull Breacher. I think that's fine. Dress down. I mean, it's a blue card for Force, so not the end of the world. In a pinch, I could play it to stop the Hull Breacher as well. Their Saga goes up to Thick Island. Our opponent is tapping 3 mana for a Tinker. I am going to have to sacrifice the Black Lotus. I don't have a choice if I want to be able to cast this. If our opponent has Beseech Storm, I actually have 3 mana. Doesn't look like they do. On their end step, we will activate the Saga. Nice little 4/4. We'll take a draw. They have 3 cards in hand. Through Key. I don't know how good that is, but something. Not even good. Probably better than more mana. I could play Key here, but if I do that, I'm losing the ability to cast Dress Down, and I really don't want to lose to Time Twist. So I'm going to choose to keep the Dress Down available. Their Saga will now go to Chapter 3. They are not going to make a comment. I'd feel a lot better if this Manifold Key was Flusterstorm number 4. Just a thought. I mean, in theory, it could also be Dress Down 3, and that wouldn't be that great. Our opponent, after a lot of deliberation, selected Black Lotus. You'll notice that they're now down to 20 minutes and 40 seconds. This Urza Saga was on the stack for about 3 minutes, and if I was playing at Eternal Weekend, I would have called a judge. So, just letting you know, on paper, the clock is shared. It is not like Magic Online, where each player gets through an individual count. And when that is the case, your opponent needs to play at a reasonable pace. I mean, I didn't make that mean for that to rhyme, it's just the truth. And you can't afford to let them sit there and tank forever. When you play Vintage on Magic Online, a lot of the players, I'm not trying to badmouth anyone in particular, but a number of them are dreadfully slow. You can't allow that in. You have to force them to make decisions reasonably, and you don't want to draw. So don't be afraid to call a judge if there's something wrong. That's unfortunate. Lavinia is going to resolve. We cannot cast spells. Ay, ay, ay. Is this a Beseech? Demonic Tutor, floating 2 black. If it's Yawgmoth's Will, they get to replay Black Lotus, Emerald Tinker, Time Twist. Yeah, got me. You had Lavinia protected win. I could not play the dress down because the Lavinia protected their win. And then I like, if they just Lavinia pass, I don't want my construct tokens to die to the. So I don't think I was supposed to do that. They're now casting Demonic Tutor. All right, after a Demonic Tutor was on the stack for about 1.5 to 2 minutes, we are now going to combat. On their end step, we will activate top. We will take an Urza Saga. Okay. Maybe I shouldn't have shown them the Saga pre-combat, but they know that I can't cast spells because of the Lavinia, so I don't know how much it really matters anyway. So we'll attack. They're blocking with the Lavinia, which is... Let's spin the top. Okay, we're not really in love with any of these. We will pass the turn. We have a Mox Emerald, Underground Sea. They have a key. I'm guessing they tutored for Time Vault then, or they got Tinker again when they could have just gotten Time Vault, but oh well. And that is going to be the game. I have no way to interact with that. So they have gotten game number 1. I mean, I could force them to attack me for lethal because they've just been sitting around doing nothing. So I guess we'll do that. Like, they're at 16 minutes in game. So they are now on their next turn. They've played a Mox Pearl. We'll take another turn. And you might be watching this going like, oh, Brian's doing something scummy right now. It is not scummy. Our opponent is at 15 minutes in game number 1. Like, they're abusing the clock. And if they're going to do that, we can... There's nothing wrong with us sitting here. Like, we've effectively lost the game, but they need to be able to win at a reasonable pace, especially if there's going to be multiple games with sideboard cards. So they're attacking again. I will go to 11 life. Now they're playing at a better pace, playing fairly quickly. They know that the game... So they're now in their next turn. Saga's on 2. So that means that they can make a construct post-combat here, and they have lethal on the fall. Interesting. They have a main deck Needle. Good to know. We're also getting a little bit of information. Okay, that's going to be game number 1. Going to the sideboard, I think we want that Flusterstorm. So a downside, I was talked into by the Power 9 into playing Dismember because it's so good against initiative. Not everything in Magic is free. So Dismember is pretty bad against Lavinia, and we're facing a Lavinia. I don't know how much that matters, but it's worth noting. We do have Dress Down, which I think is going to be better against the Lavinia Urza Saga deck. So I don't think we want to get rid of these. Instead, we might even want to bring another one. I don't know how good Force of Negation is either versus this Esper deck that we're facing. I don't know how combo oriented they are. We're already at 62, and I don't know what I'm going to take. Probably this Mana Vault. Maybe we don't need 3 drops. If I had Fatal Push in my sideboard, I probably would board it in for the Hull Breacher Lavinia deck. I just don't think Dismember is going to. Or if you're not playing Fatal Push, Cut Down, that one. Let's try this. A very marginal change. 1 Flusterstorm for 1 Vault. And it's pretty good. We will keep. We need to draw a blue card or a black sword. Our opponent is elected to keep 7. We'll play the Urza Saga and Sol Ring. Pass. They have their own Saga and their own Sol Ring. Okay. Ah, they had a better start. Mox Sapphire. They have 5 cards. So we'll draw a card in Saga. We'll go up to the second chapter. I'll Breacher again. I'm not forcing that. Draw. Mox Pearl. So not really what we wanted here. Fortunate. We'll play the Pearl, and then we're going to just pass. Their Urza Saga goes up to the second chapter. We had a really good window there. Our opponent tapped out. We know that they didn't have Flusters. And we just drew a Mox Pearl instead of a blue card or a black mana. They thought for a solid minute and then played a Tundra. They have 3 cards left in their... On their end step, we'll make a construct. In response, they make a construct. Sure. We will draw for turn and then Urza Saga happens. Flusterstorm's a really interesting draw here. I think we don't want to make another construct. Instead, we're just going to tap the Saga for mana. We'll go get Black Lotus. We will cycle Lorien Reveal. Grab an Underground Sea. We'll play the Underground Sea. Dark Ritual. Tap the Mox Pearl. We'll cast Beseech the Mirror, sacrificing the Soul Ring. Firm is 2. I'm going to cast Yawgmoth's Will, and I'm going to hold priority. Sacrifice this Black Lotus for that is resolved. We'll replay Black Lotus. Soul Ring off a colorless mana. Sacrifice the Black Lotus for black this. We'll cast Dark Ritual. Tap the Soul Ring. Beseech the Mirror, sacrificing Soul Ring again. Actually, let's get rid of the Mox Pearl. So we are currently at Storm 7. I can get another Beseech the Mirror, that would be 8. Beseech the Mirror, that would be 9. And then Tendrils would be 10. So we'll sacrifice the Soul Ring. Beseech the Mirror again. This is spell number 9. Then Tendrils of Agony will be spell number 10. We have enough mana here to hardcast Force of Will and Flusterstorm. Okay. Nice Hull Breacher. We are off to game number 3. I think I'm going to cut the Ponder for the 3rd dress. Might be a little bit nuts, but it's what I'm going to do. Like, as much as I know about Vintage is that a lot of these decks right now have like 1 Hull Breacher or 4. Based on our opponent having it turn 1, 2 games in a row, I'm guessing they're playing 4. They have elected to keep his hand just like, it's spells and mana, but it doesn't really do anything, which is a concern of mine. I think we're supposed to send this back. This hand is very good. We'll keep this in bottom. Is it Vampiric Tutor? Because if I draw Force of Will, it's a turn 1. We have 6 mana. Demonic Tutor, the 4 mana. Time Vault would be 2 mana key. Yeah, maybe it is Vampiric Tutor. Is it too crazy to just rely on drawing a blue card? Like, maybe having 2 ways to win is better? All right, let's try this. Now they get to see my hand. They know that I have nothing. Blooded Strand. They have 6 cards. And I drew the Force! Oh, I love Magic. Your odds of drawing the Force were not high. They were not high. Okay, so... sorry. You didn't come to this video to watch me laugh. Play the Mana Crypt. Black Lotus. Sacrifice the Lotus. Demonic Tutor. Grab our Time Vault. Play Key. Time Vault, floating a black mana for Vampire. Hey, and they just had nothing. Wow. Alright, I'll take it. We are now 2-0 in this Vintage rematches left. Looking to make playing your favorite combo deck much easier? Look no further than the Epic Storm Mini Token Combo Pack, which is available at theepicstorm.com/shop for $14.99. This combo token pack comes with 84 double-sided tokens. That includes our classic Storm and mana tokens, as well as fan favorites such as Goblins, Squirrels, and Slime Time Live. But that's not all. We've expanded this token pack to cover a variety of formats with new tokens. Stop on by theepicstorm.com/shop and make an easy decision to elevate your combo game. Okay, 3rd match. We're on the play versus CapTenPlanIt. There's a pause, so I'm guessing they have a Lurrus of the Dream. If only this hand had a mana source in it. It's so good. Unfortunately, we have to send it back. I think we'll keep this. Get rid of a Pollute Delta. I'm just going to play Saga. And I guess we can play Mox Ruby as well. I want to hold this Ponder for Force of Will bait, which was Bobble. So they're probably on a blue deck. Usually these Lurrus decks are like blue decks with like Mystic Remoras or things like that you can get value off of Lurrus. Or it's like mono 8 Hate Bears. But the Hate Bear decks have sort of become the like initiative decks, I guess. So they get to draw a card off the Bobble here. Find a Lorien Reveal. Let's play a Ponder. Another Dark Ritual, Mystical Tutor, Force of Will. I don't know if I'm crazy about any of these, but Mystical Tutor does find Beseech. Also, I might just be a crazy person and feel like this is just not what we want. Mox Sapphire. Okay. We'll play it and pass. They have their own copy of Mox Sapphire. There's this Saga. Beseech the Mirror off the top, please. I'd also take a Tinker. Big fan of Tinker. Lorien Revealed. So I could hardcast a Lorien Revealed right now. But if our opponent forces it, I'm going to feel a little bit silly. I think we got to take the Dark Ritual. Let's attempt to draw 3. Fluster Storm. Yep. Okay, that was the risk. Mock Sapphire is way too strong. Their Urza Saga goes up to chapter number 2. They play a Misty. They still have 5 cards in hand. Draw land number 5. Mana number 5. We're just going to slowly lose to an Urza Saga here. Saga goes up to the 3rd chapter. They're going to make a construct. I guess I'll fetch, just so that they can needle my land. They pick up a Black Lotus. Another Saga. So we're going to take 4 down to 15. Next turn, they can make a construct. 10. They have a couple artifacts in hand, I'm dead. Terrible draw. We'll pass. They're playing very conservatively. I'm willing to bet that they have more interaction in there. We'll take 8 down to 7. And we are dead. So we can go to the next. Lurrus Control. I think we definitely want the 4th copy of Fluster Storm. Goodbye Mana Vault. Can take that out. I'm wondering if we want Force and Negation. So if we bring in Force and Negation, I'm probably taking out something like Lotus Petal. Because we're looking to be more interactive. We want to keep our blue count high. Struggling to find one more cut. I'm going to try Mystical too. So my knowledge of this format goes back to around 2020. And matchups with a lot of interaction, at least back then. And I mean, I've played some since then. But you would board out top deck tutors in matchups where there was a lot of interaction because the cost of being down a card. So I'm going to try that here. Alternatively, it could have been the Ponder. Okay, well this is fairly good. We'll try this out. Mox Emerald, Soul Ring, and then we'll pass, and in their upkeep, we will cast Ancestral Recall with Force of Negation back up. So let's fetch, grab Underground Sea, Ancestral Recall targeting me. They force exiling Lorien Revealed. We will force back exiling Pond. Ancestral, that could have been better. They probe, so they now know that I have Dredge. So they're probably not going to go for the Saga plan. Mox Jet, Demonic Tutor, so they can get Black Lotus here. And then Black Lotus puts Lurrus to their hand. Interesting, they're passing. Force of Will's a very good draw. Okay, so we now have Fluster Storm plus Force. We'll pass. Time Vault. So they're just trying to Key Vault me. I guess I'll show them that I drew Force of Will. They had Fluster, so their hand was also very good. Now I'll target their Fluster. So they know my final 2 cards. So it's 2 cards versus 2 cards, but they have a companion and I don't. Draw for turn. Did not need a Black Lotus. We will pass. So now they can put Lurrus to their hand. There's their key. Interesting that they used the black. I guess you can put Lurrus to your hand with. Yep. This dress down could buy us a turn, so I don't want to just cycle it. I will fetch to thin. We only have 1 Brainstorm inventory, so holding on to fetch land I don't think makes a whole lot of sense. Draw for turn. Another counter. We will pass. Soul Ring. And now they can try the Lurrus. I have to respond here with the dress down, because this will stop the Lurrus from being able to play the Time Vault this through another saga. Our first saga, I guess. So we're all in on drawing a live card for our turn, or else this Lurrus is going to win the game. Come on, Beseech. That's a live card. Black Lotus. Tap for mana. Draw 3. No! We are dead to Lurrus bringing back Time Vault. Actually, hold on. This is a cast. I can exile it with Force and Negation. We are not dead. We are not dead. Okay. Exile your Time Vault. Okay, so we're still in this game. They untap their Soul Ring. They're going to hardcast Lorien Revealed. My Black Lotus worth losing a card? I don't think so. We will Fluster Storm. Strip Mine, so they can kill my Saga here. I don't think they should go after Academy. If I draw Beseech the Mirror, I cannot cast it at them. I'm a black mana. Go to 15. Alright, well now if I draw Beseech. There's currently nothing for our opponent to bring back with Lurrus. They're in top deck mode. We're at 15 life. They attack for 3, we'll go to 12. Another Dark Ritual. We have to pass. So we're at 38 cards, so we're roughly like 35% of the way through our deck. We have not seen any black tutors that would immediately win the game. Lurrus attacks will go to 9. They have 2 cards now. Probe. This doesn't change the clock if I pay life. I don't know if I see a reason to pay life. They're on land, Mox Emerald. We'll pass. They play the Emerald and the land. So now Lurrus will attack us to 6. We're getting to that point again where we need to draw something good or else we're dead. On deck, pretty please. Other flushers. Okay, we have one more draw step. Lurrus is going to put me to 3 life. We're at 32. Will Lurrus go coast to coast? Pretty please, pretty please, pretty please. So you're saying there's a chance. Let's leave open the black mana, cast Brainstorm. We found Tinker. So we have Bolas's Citadel in our deck, but we're at 3 life. What else can we get here? Pretty sure we're supposed to put back Urza Sagas. We will cast Tinker. Get rid of Mox Emerald, I suppose. I mean, I could get Top. Is Top better? Excuse me. Top might be better than Citadel here. I will force exiling Mental Misstep. I go to 2. Tinker. I mean, Yawgmoth's Will wins. Demonic Tutor wins. 4 Beseeches win. Tendrils keeps me alive. So that's 7 hits out of 32 cards with 3 looks. I just don't believe in Bolas's Citadel at 2 life. I think it has to be Top. Spin. And we missed. So defeating. We saw so many cards this game. I can't cast the Lorraine Revealed. I can't shuffle my deck with it and then top. We don't have access to it. So we're deterministically dead. I'm going to quit wasting time. It's already getting pretty late. We are now 2-1. Still 2 matches left to go. Let's just try to win those. If you're still watching, make sure to give this video a like, comment, and subscribe. While you're near the description, here's a reminder to use our affiliate links if you're going to make a purchase from Amazon, Card Hoarder, or TCG Player. Just above those affiliate links, you'll find our social channels. Make sure to join those to connect with us. We are on the play again in match number 4. Okay, so we have a turn 2 Tinker, but it's not... Oh, no, it is protected. We have Dress Down over here. I'm just blind. It's getting late. As I record match number 4, we're already past 11. I've been waking up pretty early recently, so I'm getting a little bit tired, but we're going to finish this video no matter how long the queues for Vintage. A little disappointed that I lost that last, if I'm being completely honest with you. I do feel that we saw over 50% of our library that game could not find a card that won. So that's a little, defeating. We'll play out some artifacts here. In case they're a prison deck, we want those in play. I know that we won a game this league on the back of Key Vault. I'm not forgetting that. I do think that I've drawn Key a number of times and it just hasn't been. Maybe I'm being unfair because I don't want to play. We have turn 1 Urza's Saga, Mox Pearl, 6 cards in hand. So this is Tinker into Citadel with Force of Will backup and a land drop. We'll grab Tinker, 3 blue, cast Tinker. If you're a member of this YouTube channel, there is a Tinker emote. They pitch a Thought Cat. We will exile Dress Down. Tinker, my favorite vintage. Go get Bolas's Citadel. Beseech the Mirror. I will pay life equal to its holding. I guess it didn't hold control, but that's fine. So I can just grab Top here. Play Saga. Hold priority on this pro. Alright, so we have a land on top. They have a Lodestone Golem. I guess we're going to pay 5 and Ancestral. Okay. Dark Ritual's a good one. We'll go to 7 and cast Demonic Tutor. Brainstorm and Response. Put these 2 on top. Dark Ritual. Ancestral Recall. Alright, Demonic Tutor. I don't even know what I'm doing at this point. We'll grab Yawgmoth. Why not? Play a Mox. And another one. And another one. How many drills? Apparently 15 drills of agony. That was game number 1. So we're facing a weird vintage 8-cast deck with Lodestone Gold. I have to feel like Hurkyl's Recall's probably decent. Take out the Mana Vault. If there's a card you're boarding out like every round, there's a chance you shouldn't be pulling it. Not that Mana Vault's bad, but maybe it doesn't. I think I'm going to take out the Dress Downs. That might be wrong, but that's what my gut's telling me. And if it is wrong, I can always readjust for game number 3, assuming that I'm interesting. We're going to try this. It might bite me in the butt, but I think it's worth giving it. Saga, Mana Vault, list. Okay. You have the Hurkyl's Recall, but they're a blue deck, so they have Force. They could always counter my another top deck. I'm going to main phase this bring. Necro. I'm a big fan of that one. Alright, so put back Mystical on top, Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual, play Soul Ring. I have a feeling that they have Force based on their pauses. If this gets forced, we can Vampiric Tutor for Tank. Or even Yawgmoth's Will. I believe Yawgmoth's Will is just lethal. No, it's not. Never mind. I don't have a tutor that draws into Mindbreak Trap. Fortunate. Vampiric Tutor. Storm 8. The old Tinker Machine. So the Mana Vault is going to deal 1 to our opponent. Saga will go up to 2. They'll attack for 3. I go to 50. I'll have 4 cards in there. Attempt Tinker. You have Force of Will? They do. Alright, so they opened up Force Mindbreak. I'm drawing a land, but they could just replay Mana Vault Nettlecyst, so I don't know if Hurkyl's Recall is even that good at the moment. So they float mana off the Urza's Saga. They find a black loot. Thoughtcast. Yeah, this Hurkyl's Recall is not going to... Okay, we're going to concede this. And we can readjust for game 3. I'm going to take those out of the deck. I don't think I want the Dress Downs either. I do think I want the 4th copy of Fluster. Let's bring the Mana Vault back. We're going to try a Force of Negation, that is, on the play for game 3. So this is turn 1 Tinker. So we don't have any backup. It does play through Mindbreak. I think I'm going to keep it. Underground Sea. Play a Mana Crypt. Tinker. They had it. Brutal. We will pass the turn. I could have played Black Lotus, but our opponent is a Mindbreak Trap gamer. I can just wait a turn and do this. Turn 1 Urza's Saga. Insane draw? There's no way that Yawgmoth's Will plays through Mindbreak Trap. We're at 19. So if I Yawgmoth's Will right now, can I get to lethal? So let's assume that we Yawg-Will Storm 2. Black Lotus is 3. Mana Crypt is Storm 4. Tinker Storm 5. Assume that gets countered, Storm 6. Dark Ritual will be Storm 7. Tendrils would be 8. I'd be short. So if that's the case, Dark Ritual will be 9. So I'm actually still 1 short. I'm just going to go for it. Dark Ritual. Back the Black Lotus for blue. Yawgmoth's Will. Storm 3. That resolves. Okay. Black Lotus is Storm 4. Dark Ritual is Storm 5. Mana Crypt is Storm 6. Yawgmoth's Will. What a top deck. We will now cast Tinker. Sacrifice the Mana Crypt, Storm 7. Colossus Citadel. Playing the land in hindsight was a little... Brainstorm. We'll put Lorien Revealed. Tendrils. Cast the Tendrils, Storm 10. Looks like we got there. Sweet. 3-1. 1 match left to go. With Card Hoarder, renting your favorite combo deck has never been easier. There isn't a more affordable solution for Magic Online. Want to play the deck in this video? Check out the pinned comment below to easily rent the deck from Card Hoarder. Did you know you can rent the Epic Storm from Card Hoarder for as little as 7 tickets a week? We've made it simple to do so by including a button to rent the entire deck at theepicstorm.com/decklist. The 5th and final round of this vintage league. Fortunately, I am not allowed to keep. If this Force of Will over here was a black source, this is an insane hand, but instead we have to mow. I feel like this is like one of my few times this league that I've drawn Beseech the Mirror. Looks like we're facing a bizarre. facing Dredge. I don't know if this hand. We'll keep him bottom of Beseech. We'll lead on Mox Emerald versus Saga. And then after that, we'll pass the turn. Surprise, surprise, Bazaar of Baghdad. They discard 2 Dredgers and a Hogak. Reef. That's a bummer. So we're probably losing the Beseech the Mirror. They do in fact take the Beseech. So you might have been saying, why not keep the extra Beseech and keep Reef? Well, in Vintage, the Dredge decks play 4 Cabal Therapy. They also do in Legacy. But it's important to remember that Therapy is a card that exists. Okay, so we'll take a draw, and then Urza Saga will go up to the second chapter. Vampiric, play the Underground Sea, and we'll pass. In their upkeep, they activate the Bazaar of Baghdad. They mill over a pair of Cabal Therapy, as well as a Narc Amoeba. Tries to Amalgam triggers that will come back on their end step. They have 3 cards in hand, and now they get to Dredge again. Alright, so they have 2 Force of Wills in known zones. Another Bazaar. That's a 3rd Force. So there's only 1 Force of Will left in their deck. I can Vampiric here for Tinker, and then try to win on our turn. What I'd like to know, do they have the 4th Force of Will in their hand? Vampiric Tutor. Put Tinker on top. So they know that I have Force. They know the last card in my hand is Academy. The Amalgam comes back. They have 2 cards. Is it Force? Blue card. I hope not. We'll float a mana. So technically I could also Key Vault them here. But like top Citadel wins as well. I guess top Citadel has like a little bit of risk associated with it. I feel like you're supposed to do the key comp. Even though I don't want to. Sacrifice the Emerald. And their last 2 cards were Force blue card. Wow. They had 1 Force left. There it is. Okay. You got me. So this is an issue that I have with the way that these decks are currently constructed. There's no ley lines in the sideboard. I was talking over this with the Power 9, and they were just like, yeah, Dredge isn't really popular anymore. But I think it's going to be at Eternal Weekend, and we have so many sideboard cards right now that I'm just like not so convinced about, but I haven't faced Initiative in either Vintage League I've played. So maybe I'm just biased, but I do think that's going to be a very popular deck. So I don't know. I just don't have the reps to really have like solid opinion. Get rid of the Mana Vault. Mental Misstep can definitely. I like Flusterstorm. That should probably be in. Dress Down can definitely get 60. Yeah, let's try it. Cage does shut off my own Yawgmoth's Will and Colossus Citadel, but it's also just so good against them that I think you have to. Speaking of having to keep, having Needle plus Force for their Bazaar, this is ideal. I mean, I wish we had a blue source, but I'm not going to send this Needle. We will name Bazaar of Baghdad. They paused for a second on my end step and then ultimately didn't do anything. We're going to see how this game goes. They might have a Force of Vigor already. Yawgmoth's Will. We'll play top. Pass the turn. They dredge and mill over a Mindbreak trap, as well as a bridge from below. No other dredgers, but because they have a full hand, they're able to discard a dredge creature every turn. They play the Bazaar. So I think that means that they have a Force of Vigor. And our upkeep will top. Because you wouldn't play the Bazaar unless you had the answer. It just doesn't make sense. We will attempt to counterspell Force of Vigor. They force back, pitching Force. So they were just waiting for protection. We're going to lose both of our artifacts. Then the top spin will resolve. Another neat. No blue source. Okay. So they'll get 1 Bazaar activation here. And if they have another Mindbreak trap, they can trap this. Play the Needle. They'll draw 2. Therapy, Golgari Thug, Icarus. Name Bazaar of Baghdad again. And key. Pass the turn. They choose to not return Icarus. They dredge the Golgari Thug. Okay, so we fall to 18 life. I need to remember that they have Thug in hand. Maybe I'll make a note to myself using the chat box. They target themselves. They're probably going to discard a dredger here. Okay, and they discard their own Thug. We'll say Tails. We win the flip. Lovely. So we're going to play top. And then hold priority. We're going to use the top, untap the top, allow that to resolve, and then we'll draw again. So basically, we get to draw an extra card here. We knew about the Mystical Tutor, but now we're drawing live next, looking for that blue. Icarus triggers. They do return it. They exiled the prized amalgam. They dredge, and they hit another Cabal Therapy. So they know that I have the top in my hand, which is really unfortunate because now they can discard the top. They attack for 5. I'll go to 13. We're in trouble. They target me knowing that I have the top. Yep. Okay, so they have 7 power on the board. They're about to get another zombie. This Mana Crypt might be the death of me. Okay. I won the flip. Blue source, pretty please? Nope. We will pass. So I get one more draw step here. And this draw step needs to somehow win the game. So this is for 9. So even if I lose the Mana Crypt flip, I go to 1. Okay. Fails. Won the flip. Draw. That's not it. Okay, so we failed to ever find a blue source this game. We saw like 22, 23% of our deck that game. We had 47 cards left. Our next card was in fact a blue source. Unfortunate. I don't feel like our sideboard was adequately set up to face Dredge. In general, I'm a big fan of Leyline of the Void, and the more common builds of this deck don't have it. I might want to change that for Eternal Weekend. I'm not sure. I need to do more testing. But something I was thinking about a lot through this. A couple of years ago, I built the deck list that won Eternal Weekend on Magic Online. Alex McKinley of the Epic Storm team won. And something that we did was we played 4 copies of Preordain and upped the consistency in a deck that felt like there was a lot of 2-card Monty going on. And when I look at this deck list, there's not, like, one of the biggest complaints that I've received from people about this deck is that it's really inconsistent. I kind of saw that tonight. So if inconsistency is the problem, cantrips help that. But when you look at deck lists online, people don't even play Ponder. Like, I'm a weirdo for playing the Ponder. So am I wrong for wanting to play Preordain? I don't know. So some thoughts that I have are, is Key Vault really worth it? It was fine this league. I'm not going to pretend it was bad. But you have so many other plans that I'm not sure if it's actually good in this. I do think Mana Vault probably needs to be cut. So if you wanted to, you could cut Mana Vault and then a dress down for 2 copies of Preordain. Okay, you could also cut Mana Vault and 2 dress downs for 3 Preordain. You could cut Mana Vault, Key, Time Vault, and a dress down for 4 Preordains, and then you still have 1 dress down in your deck or Vampiric Tutor or Demonic Tutor versus Initiative. And you'd have a highly consistent deck that gets to do the Dark Ritual Beseech win. And you have a tutor for dress down for like Initiative and stuff. And your blue count's really high, so Force isn't a liability. And then additional sideboard copies of Force of Negation are less embarrassing. So I'm kind of interested in playing another Vintage League at some point with main deck Preordains and maybe some Leyline of the Voids in the sideboard. I just feel like I'm not in love with the current sideboard, but I haven't faced Initiative at all, so I might be biased. I also thought that Dismember maybe wasn't what we wanted, and maybe that should be cut down. I just don't know. I need the reps, so I'm going to have to test a bunch more before Eternal Week. Any feedback you have for me would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. Have a great day. And as always, keep storming. Hey you, yeah you, make sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you're interested, you can visit theepicstorm.com/donation-decks to see your combo deck here on this very YouTube channel. You can even join me in a video in the Epic tier. It's totally worth it, I promise. And see ya. Thanks for watching.